Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Evans, and together with Deborah Drysdale, we would like to talk to you today about brand newbies and rusty newbies and building community and player development in a bridge class. By way of introduction, we'd like to tell you about our nonprofit bridge program called Planet Bridge, which has the singular mission of growing the game in all its forms: online, in person, social, and competitive. We started at the beginning of COVID. We primarily teach adult beginners, including brand new players and those returning to the game. Our program includes 24 weeks of online lessons with hand practice and face-to-face social bridge opportunities. Experienced bridge players volunteer to coach our student learners. Our curriculum is roughly equally split between play of the hand, defense, and bidding, which we teach in that order. Our presentation will reflect on the role of community and personal development in learning bridge. The formation of a bridge community is a perk students probably didn't expect, nor did we realize its importance at the beginning. Social connection is the glue of bridge, and surprisingly, it can happen online as well as face-to-face. We teach both online and face-to-face. Relative to our experience, more than 800 students have come through our program, many staying 3 years or more. This summer, 8 students and coaches from all over the U.S. met up at the NABC in Chicago and met face-to-face for the first time. Today, we will do a little role play. Deborah will pretend to interview me, Allison, as if I were interested in becoming a bridge coach. We will use this role play to show our approach to coaching and to developing players. We hope this will be fun for you and will give you a sense of our community culture.
Hi, Allison. I'm
Hi,
Deborah
Deborah.
Drysdale, and thanks for inquiring about being a coach with Planet Bridge. I'm Deborah. As you know, I'm a proud non-elite bridge player who loves bridge as much as anyone on the planet. And let's hear about you a little bit.
I teach microbiology at college, and I'm also proudly a non-elite player.
Okay.
I'm curious about the operation you have going on here as a potential coach. And I know when you emailed me earlier, you said you enact a community building approach. And I was just wondering, how do you do that?
Great question. We didn't know we were going to do that when we started. It sort of happened at the beginning of COVID. And who knew that you could build community through Zoom? But given that the glue of bridge is the social component and the connection that players have or people have, we decided to go with it. And we've built a community. So every session there's a meet and greet kind of thing, which is somewhat analogous to the coffee pot at a bridge club or the kitchen counter at a social bridge gathering. When people first come in as newbies to Planet Bridge, we have icebreakers. We have a whole little lingo about in Planet Bridge. I know it's weird, but we call them ABNs, adult brand newbies. We call them rusty newbies who need.
What's a rusty newbie?
Well, they need a little WD-40. That's an American product that what does it do? It gets rid of rust. Those are people who maybe played in college and haven't played since.
Mm.
And then we have what we call regulars. And so we have this little lingo that we have. We make sure to have consistent times that we meet. So it's always 4:00 Pacific US time, always the same Zoom link. We meet Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays for various lessons, and then practice of theory and practice.
Oh, that's interesting. So could you describe for me what would you characterize like the environment in your class like?
You bet. Well, first off, it is supportive, welcoming, and safe. A lot of people we found have had issues with feeling traumatized at the bridge table or at the bridge club. And we don't want to replicate that. We want just the opposite. I forgot to mention that I'm a retired marriage and family therapist. And so I did that for many years, trying to create a safe environment. So this isn't therapy, it's bridge play, which can be stressful. So we make it safe, welcoming, and they know that, and the people help each other.
Interesting. And do you do anything other than like, is it always bridge? Or do you sometimes do fun things together as well?
Wait a minute, Allison. Bridge is fun.
Other fun things.
Oh,
Of course, good. Bridge is fun.
We make it fun. We use humor. Sometimes we play word games, but we used to do that more. Now the people want to play bridge. They don't want to play word games anymore. I mean, maybe that's a measure of our success. I'm not sure, but
I would say so. I think that sounds like definite measure of success when the students' preferred entertainment is playing bridge.
So, some other things that we do are we absolutely are committed to doing our learning in small groups. So, for example, we have a lesson often that is for all the people, and then we break into small groups after the break, and we always take a break. And there's a coach in each Zoom breakout room when we teach online. And so the students help each other. So they oftentimes they play on Shark Bridge, they play the same hands, they compare their results, or they work together to figure out, should we take this finesse or not?
So they're able to like talk to each other, it sounds like, during the practice. So several of them, like they're all looking at the same hands and they can discuss their thought process. Is that what you're describing?
That's exactly right. The coach might say, which you might be, the coach might say, well, where do we hope the king is? In the east or in the west? And everybody's looking at the same hand.
So, that's really nice. So it's like the power of community learning, basic peer-to-peer learning.
Right. Peer-to-peer learning, yes. And they support each other and help each other and value mistakes. So, yeah.
Well, Deborah, that's really interesting about your community learning approach. Let me ask you, because I have been in bridge classes in the past that don't take a community approach and people still learn bridge. So why is it that you choose to take a community approach?
We take a community approach because we want people to keep coming back and we want them to love bridge. So we make it warm, welcoming, supportive, and we actively build it. In fact, the minute somebody comes on to the screen, for example, in a Zoom lesson, there might be 40 tiles there. That could be overwhelming, but they feel the culture right away. And they say, oh, this is a different kind of a situation. So they're all there in the Zoom lobby. Main session.
And so how do you think your community approach has affected like player retention or the atmosphere?
Well, I think it builds it. We didn't know that was going to happen back at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, but it has happened and people want to keep coming back. And we see ourselves as a beginner program. And so people are developing bridge skills and they want to stay in the community. So we also do face-to-face not lessons, but just social bridge play at once a week for the local players. And we have a pickup game on Friday nights, for example. It keeps growing and growing and growing. Tonight, there are like some 16 people that are coming so far, and always more show up.
And you mentioned to me when we emailed earlier that you also have a pickup game, like a drop-in game online. Is that correct?
That's right. So the same time, the same Zoom link on Mondays, anybody who wants to show up can show up, and we play random hands with supervised play. And thereby we build the community across the US, which is where our players coming from, including Hawaii, all the way to New York.
So one thing that really resonated with me is, of course, I teach science, as I told you, and we always hear that students will only learn from people they trust. And so it sounds to me like, from a theoretical standpoint, one reason to adopt the community approach is because if learners are comfortable and feel like they can ask questions very freely and they trust their teachers, they're maybe more likely to learn a little faster, even, I think, is what some of the literature suggests as far as teaching in the science environment. So have you found that to be the case with the many students you have taught?
Absolutely. Some people come in and they have been traumatized literally at the bridge club bridge lessons. Or some people, for example, like years ago, some player said to them, "Why didn't you play the 2 of clubs? It was good." And they remember that, and they left bridge for some 50 years. So yes, we make it safe and therapeutic, no, reparative, maybe, and fun. We use humor
Fun?
a lot. We laugh a lot. Yeah, because
That sounds great.
It's a card game. It's fun.
So let me ask you, I've heard a lot about what you do in the classroom, right? It sounds like you have that your primary classes are online, but you offer some in-person chances to play for people who live locally. So
Right?
what can you tell me about how you continue to enhance community outside of the couple of hours of lessons a week? Are there any special things that you do as a community in that way?
Interestingly, there are spin-off groups that I don't even know about really, but I hear about them and I get really excited that people who have met each other on Zoom at Planet Bridge have set up a Wednesday game or something with each
Oh,
other.
that's exciting. So that
Yeah.
it's basically like when I started playing bridge, I would practice. We'd have practice groups at my mother-in-law's. It sounds kind of like that, but for people who met
Exactly.
in your class. Yeah.
Online. And somebody from Iowa and all over our country meet together and figure it out. But also we take in the class, we'll take we call it field trip to BBO to show them resources that they can use to play together, because we're constantly encouraging play, play, play. We're going to play and get experience so we get better. We're going to make mistakes. That's okay. Mistakes are our friends. We love them. They help us learn. And so, yeah.
And
Did I
so
answer
it
your
sounds like,
question?
yeah, it sounds like you do things like maybe you you teach them how to friend each other and how to use, in your case, BBO, but I suppose it could be any platform, to continue that community outside of class.
Right. We also met up at the big ACBL national tournament in Chicago. 8 of us, coaches and students, met up face to face, many of us for the first time.
Oh, that's thrilling. I hope that becomes a national tradition or an
Oh,
annual tradition.
we're going to Toronto next year already. We're drumming it up because it's fun to have a posse
At a tournament.
at a
Yes, that's
tournament. Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
We'd like to show you 2 quick examples that actually occurred that show the ways in which we develop community. The first is this screenshot of our lesson community on Deborah's birthday. Unbeknownst to Deborah, one of the students found out it was going to be her birthday during lessons, and she contacted the other students, and everyone wore birthday hats for Deborah's birthday, which was a big surprise. Another example shown here is one of our newsletters. We send out newsletters about every month or 2 months, and one of the things we use them for is showcasing student feedback. Here you can see a note from one of our players, and this really encapsulates what our culture is like, that the student feels that they can say, it's so much fun, and sometimes I make mistakes, but I know that that's okay with you. We also use it to showcase the types of playing opportunities that are available. All of this speaks to the importance of recognizing personal connections that allow us to celebrate personal milestones outside of Bridge, and also involving students in providing information to us about how they feel their learning is going.
Well, Deborah, it's been really interesting learning about your community approach. And community is great, but I know as a teacher that everyone learns differently. So, how do you attend to individual differences in learning through your program?
The individual differences are interesting because people have different aspirations as bridge players. So, some want to go ahead and be competitive players and will get to be elite players, we hope. And some will continue to play at the kitchen table and have a blast. So we are conscious of that as coaches. That's very important. And the fact that you are asking the question suggests that you would be a great coach, Allison. We love mistakes. We love mistakes. We talk about our own mistakes that we've made, like playing in a 3-1 fit. Ouch.
Oh, amen.
Yeah. And we laugh at ourselves. And so they individually, they learn that that's okay. And the potential humiliation, Bridge offers a chance for humiliation and recovery from humiliation and going on to the next stand, etc. So we speak to that, and we repeat and repeat and repeat, and say that they may have to learn, then unlearn, then relearn something.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
In my bridge history too. And what kind of strategies do your coaches use when they like phrase comments and things like that to players?
Always very positive. We don't say, well, why didn't you play the 2 of clubs? We'd say, well, what might there be another way, or can anyone help so and so, or any ideas, folks? That kind of thing, being welcoming to input from the students.
Well, that's interesting because you talked about the group, like the community learning process that you described early when people join the program. And it sounds like that carries over when they become more advanced about students helping each other, saying, oh, you might take another trick if. I mean, it sounds like that's the kind of dialogue that you promote among the students. Is that right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. You are showing great aptitude here.
Well, thank you, Coach Deborah.
You're welcome, potential Coach Allison.
I'd like to share a quick 20-second example from the 9th lesson of our curriculum this year, where one of our coaches, Phil, is describing a situation where his bridge partner, Dana, thought he might have imposter syndrome. We find that students often think they can't know enough bridge to play, and so we do actively talk about the idea of imposter syndrome and thinking you're not good enough to do something. And you can hear the students giggle in the background, which shows that they are comfortable with the topic and understand what Phil is trying to impart to them.
Opening lead is hard. Sometimes it's clear what to do, and often it's not. When I told Dana that I was giving a presentation on opening lead, she laughed out loud because she doesn't think I'm very good at opening leads. And she asked whether I was going to have imposter syndrome.
Well, Deborah, your approach sounds really like you integrate personal development into your bridge curriculum, and I can see where that would pay dividends for players, not being frustrated and wanting to rejoin the community. But I am curious, it seems like you must have had challenges in developing this approach, or you may still have challenges with this approach. Can you tell me a little bit about the difficulties you've noticed in executing this kind of thing?
Sure. One of the things is that we teach different levels at the same time. So we have to be consciously, we have to, it's like teaching first grade and fifth grade at the same time. And so we have to be each coach, each teacher has to be conscious of that and try to make sure that everybody is somehow held in the process.
And is that because you have people who are brand new to the program and people who have completed it once already and they're revisiting the program to get a deeper understanding? Is that why you have different levels?
Yes, we have.
And maybe some people come with different foundations too.
They definitely come with different foundations. Those are the ones that have a foundation, they become what we call rusties, and quickly they can join what we call the regulars. And we've actually developed a contradiction because we have billed ourselves as a beginner program, but we've developed such a strong community that the beginners, who typically, of course, in their developmental process as a bridge player, want to get better and learn more, they want to learn beyond beginner skills.
So you have new beginners coming in and old beginners who don't want to leave your community?
We do. And so we've got to figure it out, and it's a challenge, and we're working on that and thinking maybe a different module or something like that. But yeah.
Well, that's really exciting.
Yes. And the other thing is we've had trouble teaching kids online.
Why do you think that is?
They're multitasking. They're Zoom exhausted from the pandemic. They want to go out and not be online. And so we've accepted that we're pretty much a program for adult learners, adult beginners. And that's
But it sounds like a person could apply these methods to a kid's class, but possibly more effectively if that were in person, where they'd get to like meet friends as opposed to trying to make those connections online where it takes a little more executive function.
I used to teach bridge in the schools in San Francisco before the pandemic. They loved it, and that was fun. I loved it. Oh, that's another thing. It's got to be fun for the coaches. I mean, this is fun. It's fun for the coaches. So anyway, yes, teaching kids in person is much more, it has a better result. So Allison, let me ask you, after this discussion, might you be interested in being a coach with Planet Bridge?
Oh, Deborah, I would love to. Your approach, your community building approach to provide a safe, welcoming, and fun environment definitely strikes a chord with me. And I think it's really inspiring that you're sort of, putting community before bridge, and that makes bridge seem more approachable and less of an elite, difficult thing to learn. And I can see where the community struggle to like solve a puzzle or get somewhere, get the answer to a hand or contract could be a really rich experience for students to hear others' thoughts and have their own thoughts checked. So I think if you're looking for extra coaches, I would love to join you.
Oh, thank you. We'd love to have you.
We hope this presentation has been a fun way for you to see how we attend to community building and player development in the course of both online and in-person play.